Right, it's still the 16th of June 2024, and I've got to get a knife ready. Not that I'm going to use it, but I will if I have to. But it will be in self-defence. Yeah, it's kicking off. Yeah, big time. Probably the nastiest night since, well, basically the night Matty got evicted. Right, so we've got child rapist just said, negative attraction just, weirdo, veggie mental case just said, penis up loud bike. Next loud bike to her erection, raped her just, penis up, 2 more loud bikes. Shot down Justin. One of the 2. Well, they've both been said, so it doesn't matter which one I say, or which one's written down. Like, too late to do something or whatever. Said, penis up loud bike. Being shot dead, bow whistles, penis up, shoot, loud bike, motorbike revs. I can't work out what I've written. Basically saying that I've had Stephanie Hill, or had sex with her when I've never. Everything's lost, child rapist just. Sudden shooting high up erection, so 8 times loud bike, go toilet, both pissing and shitting, need to time, 8 times loud bikes. Shooting you dead. There's something or rather. Smash you in Justin banged, then smashing you in Justin banged. Right, before I hand state this, I just want to get it through on there before I mention the next sheet. Being knifed in the chin and fucking smashed in on the face is not good enough. You need to be fucking knifed properly. Said, a break-in's not good enough where your stuff is stored. You've got to have double break-in, it's got to be misery, said. You've got to pay the fucking full price, you sick cunt, said. Right, now from the sheet. Lunatic Justin banged, smash you in banged, paedophile banged, busting in Justin banged. That's your lot, said. That's your life. Smashing you in, that's your lot. Shooting you dead, Justin. Shoot you dead, Justin. Turning extremely rough, you're a paedophile, Justin. Beating you up, banged. Almost 45, Justin, weirdo. Supposed to fancy an old granny, you fucking thick cunt. Very similar band, revved. Hang on, whoops. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, 45 Justin Weirdo's revved or something similar to that. But that's also been said. I'm just going through on the next bit on this. Very scary, Justin stabbing you with a knife, head case, robbery, banged. Knife him having a break-in, banged, smash you in HIV. Gun sound, penis up loud bike, bash you in HIV, Justin. Banged, syringe said. Justin, everything that's where it's placed, stuff where your stuff is stored is missing. And burns begin, so I'm burning again. Right, I just want to do a quick video regarding who's going to get elected, when the election comes in July. I don't know much in the way of details, but I think it's on July the 4th, but I will need to double check. I'm just doing this video quickly because I want to mention a few things. When these setups occur when I go out, at the moment, they're timing that ripping you to pieces paper shredder van every time you pass the specific party of the Liberal Democrats. So every time you pass a sign or someone wearing a t-shirt saying vote Liberal Democrats, they are timing the ripping you to pieces paper shredder van. The other thing I wanted to mention is, on one occasion that occurred last week, straight after ripping you to pieces paper shredder van, they timed just in time van, which is my name, Justin, so just in time. Now this just in time van is not the same one from Burnham-on-Sea, it's a different one. It has a picture of a cartoon character smashing a double bell alarm clock, the traditional type, with a mallet. And in the clock face, with the smashed glass and bells flying off picture, and the broken clock with all the shattering everywhere in the picture, it says just in time in the clock face. So yeah, it's not a good suggestion, is it? I mean, there have been a couple of people that have voted Labour, and there's been a couple of people that have voted Conservative, but the setups have not been timing a ripping you to pieces van timed as that occurs. And the other thing that occurred is on 2 occasions. I don't know whether it's worth mentioning or not, but this hasn't happened since my old place. These two specific van names have not occurred since I've lived in Yeovil, and that's the van that says earn a living and prepare for work. Those 2 vans, they've not occurred in Yeovil until around the time, not at the same time as when I passed the ripping you to pieces van next to the Liberal Democrats signs or t-shirts or whatever, but it has been within sort of 20 minutes, 30 minutes of when that's occurred. So, I don't know who's going to get in, but they're making the suggestion if the Liberal Democrats get in power, they're going to rip me to fucking pieces through the suggestions that they're making. Now, when it comes to the Labour Party, they're making the suggestion of nothing at all, really, and same with the Conservatives. However, there has been threats regarding Labour being voted and whatever, and that you're going to be a pregnant evil man that's going to kick Jesus Christ out of you as an alternative to sex, basically, when you've not had sex in your whole life. Difficult to explain, but the government want to, sorry, not the government on this occasion, when people gave me threats, they're saying that you're failing to kick Jesus Christ out while having sex, basically, but there's no sex to cause the birth of Jesus Christ kicking out of you, basically, if that's the right word to use. So they're digging of the past, saying that you should have did it when you were sexually abused as a child, basically. To their way they're sort of saying it, but because people are thick and they don't know me and they're interpreting everything differently and thinking I've had someone, they're now digging at me, claiming that you've got to pay the price. And because they think I'm a rapist and all the rest of it and mistake me as a ven, everything's all haywire and they're all confused. They don't have a fucking clue. As long as they're giving me shit and giving me hell, it's as simple as that. But anyway, that's not what this video is about. It's about timing Liberal Democrats and ripping you to pieces and a just-in-time vehicle. So these are the vans with the word ripping you to pieces written on the side of it, or a picture on the van saying just in time with a cartoon character smashing a double bell alarm clock. But anyway, I'll leave it there. Right, next street, stabbing you with age Justin, getting busted, misery Justin, being shot down. HIV is replacing Tron said. HIV being pushed into a job. Bow whistles breaking his house 23:01 p.m. AM. 11:01 p.m. Getting confused with all these fucking problems. Right, gunshot. Busting in, Justin breaking in. Esme's gone said. Basically, Esme is my dad's ex-partner, and I'm being accused with accusations of murdering her when I haven't. Gunshot sound after. Virgin not supposed to be with a prostitute under 43, stupid fucking cunt. Sick bastard said. Sick cunt supposed to be with that shingles attraction, Gizmo Lisa said. Sick cunt being smashed out, you are looking at a paedophile attraction. Stop chasing Grace. Neighbour. I won't say the surname, because I will cause offence. Right, gunshot sounds. 38 sad cunt. Older mate. Under 43 Justin. Busting in, dangerous Just said. Penis up loud by knocking you out Justin. Being shot dead, molested Sadie Justin. Gunshots. Blank fire from gun. Shotgun outside. What else? Draw just said. Alex Lunnis wants you dead still. Raped her just said. Beat up said. I can't think. That is I can't work out the first word. I should have written it down properly. Sound and beat up. Well, probably lots of a few gunshots. I'm going to say lots. It went down after a while. Smash you in just. Smash accumulator. Dangerous just and smash your place in. Said at 1:40 AM. Yeah. Right, this morning there's been a few bangs in sequence to threats, but it hasn't really been that bad. But I am up late, so I didn't get up until 20 past 11. Considering I went to bed before 2 AM, this is quite lazy to be fair. But it is a bloody hot, blue sky, sunny day, and I don't feel like doing much on a hot blue sky day, so I'm off to Barrack. Few starter cars, few setups. Nothing too bad. Obviously as bad as your regular flow for this time of year on a moderately bad day, or how it usually is on a moderately bad day, as it would be this time, say 2022 or 2023 or whatever. But loud bike to erection in my direction. There was a couple of black and black and blue cars. There's not really been much in the way of suggestions, but there has been a evil writing that looks like it's a smashed sort of glass looking writing, you know, sort of evil, you know, gothic type writing that says Democrat on the side of a van, but nothing else written on there, just that and a telephone number and the company, whatever it is. So obviously I have mentioned the Liberal Democrats being set up, followed by a ripping you to pieces van and just in time car and sexual whatever recently, but that's not the case. There seems to be no other setups with that today, or at the moment. It just seems to be a Democrat van and basically just 70% cars, grey, blue, sick white, black and blue in the mix, and then Bono and M bikes, and no worded stuff. But I'll keep you informed of what else happens today. The setups are starting to pick up now on that road in particular, but it just seems to be of colour cars at the moment, and it's bloody hot out here. It's probably, I'd say, if I was to guess, about 29 degrees Celsius in my place. The thermometer doesn't work, but this is just a guess. It could be just a little bit under, or it could even be a bit higher. But if I was to guess, it's around 29 Celsius, and it's soaking wet in my place. You know, you're sort of sweating just sitting with the windows open, which I'm trying to avoid because there's a lot of trouble at the moment outside. So we've got this for the next couple of days. Unless they change the forecast, of course, but sometimes they do, and then sometimes it turns out to be reverse weather, but it's never not where I am. A bloke about 70's passed me saying, "You're going to have to go for a teenage prostitute, you're not going to get anyone." And I thought to myself, well, the problem is, he doesn't realise that people change, and we're in a different time. I mean, just saying the word prostitute is going to give a suppressing suggestion, because you don't get sex from a prostitute before you start. It's just blowjobs, or actually what the Asian people were saying when I was ringing up specific numbers going back 10 years ago on Beaver Street, all these prostitution sites, is prostitutes won't give sex now. There's blowjobs only, but they don't even give that anymore. It's just a case of making a payment to their phone of about £1,000, by the way, and all 1,500 just for a phone call to wank while they're speaking to you on the phone, basically. So garden stick gnome, or garden gnome as I call it, is much different today. Before the lockdown, a Lisa Pike lookalike you could get for anywhere from 40 to 120 quid, usually around about 60 to 80 quid. If it's a sexual looking type, it can be anything from where it depends. If it's a really sexual type, or the type that people fancy, you know, smooth skin or whatever, the type that my enemies are in relationships with, you're looking at 250 quid at the minimum per hour, and then it goes up to about 1,000, possibly £1,200. These type don't do it anymore. They're not a prostitute anymore. You don't see this type on next, apart from the Asian people, and they're funny about it as well. There's £1,500 roughly for a phone call, that's it. They don't meet up, not since the lockdown. And the other problem is, a lot of them will only make friends with people that they know in their phone's friends list, because they're small-minded today. People my age, even if I was 50 years of age, 5 years older, got a cock down my fucking throat. And motorbike, bike. Right, if I was to walk any further, they choking me with a catalytic converter fucking timed on the fucking farm track. But I've got to say, gas, Christ, gas. Vinegary smell mixed with the smell of rubbing two stainless steel knives against garden crest, Christ. 100 times stronger up my nose, because they're trying to tell me that it's a catalytic converter. For the last decade or so, they've been trying to tell me that the smell of gas on the car is to apply having sex with an old granny. And with Lisa Pike, or this disgusting, unhygienic looking type, they look like they're laughing backwards or have a goofy face. They're trying to tell me they smell like tomato ketchup and saying that's sex, that's the way you enjoy sex. Because they're corrupt, they're crooked, the people that are setting this action up. It was 2018 area I gave up trying to find a prostitute or stuff like that, and just had to accept I've been sexually abused as a child, and that the worse of my life goes, the nastier I get. And obviously I made it clear that as soon as I hit the age of 45, that there's going to be criminal damage, there's going to be graffiti, and my life, I'm just going to absolutely lose it for the rest of my days. I turn against all religions that are based on sexuality, like Christianity. I turn against Christ, I put a knife in Christ. And that's what I made this, I've already mentioned this, I've been on social media, I posted it to 10 Downing Street, the UK government, and I've also mentioned it to the police, I've also mentioned it to the people in authority. I said if I don't have sex by the age of 45 and it's too late and I can't fancy anyone, then you're going to have to put up with me committing a crime. And the police said, well, you just end yourself in jail. And I said, yeah, but I've been sexually abused and never had anyone. They didn't say nothing, actually, to that. I thought they would have said anything. And they said, you asked. No, hang on, yes I did. No, that's someone else. I can't remember who said it now. Oh, he said, you are stupid, aren't you? That's what someone, I think it's someone in authority that said that, but it wasn't the police. There's no escaping the catalytic converter hot point today, I've noticed. I'm still waiting for the setup after that Democrats van to see what the first vehicle name is, t-shirt, word, or wrapper on the floor even, just to see what the suggestion is. Nothing's happened yet, because Democrat makes a suggestion of Liberal Democrats, and they've been trying to apply that they're going to go into power. They haven't even been voted yet, no one's been voted. It doesn't take place until I think it's the 4th of July. But these setups are pre-organised intelligence that's been forced against me to try and rip me to pieces, or what's been trying to rip me to pieces all my life on sexuality, thinks that the Democrats are going to get in. The likelihood is it'll be either Labour or Conservative, like it usually is, but I don't know. They seem to be making a suggestion of the Liberal Democrats. They might be wrong, but that's what the suggestion's coming through. I mean, they could just be doing it to be spiteful and using that party as a easy way to make the suggestion that they're ripping me to pieces, just because it applies to government. Maybe it's that, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see later on. Crow says pervert. I just want to recap on a few things what the Asian prostitute was telling me in her early 20s, because she's not actually British. She's come over into the UK and she's put herself on Viva Street. She makes money by giving men blowjobs, and she says she knows about all the sex. She says in her country it would be fine, you wouldn't need to wear a condom, you need to, nothing like that. You'd get a prostitute, a proper prostitute that would give you sex properly in the way it should be done, which is known as hardcore sex. If you don't wear a condom, if you do wear a condom, it's known as safe sex, not hardcore. So they don't even give you that mind in the UK. They don't actually even give you sex. It's hard to explain. In the UK, it's just a blowjob. They won't even let you have contact with their body. We're in a different time. And the prostitute I was speaking to, who's Asian, I think she's from Taiwan or something like that, but she knows what British language is, and they work different over there. In different countries you can get, it's not so restricted. And obviously when I was talking about people moaning about the age in the UK, again, she agrees, I can't remember which one this was that I was speaking to, but this was an intelligent type person. Even though she was in her early 20s, going back 10 years ago. Yet she did agree with me. She said that they are fussy about the age gaps in the UK, considering there are some people that haven't had anybody. And then she's sort of saying about the risks, people having HIV and all the rest of it. But she says, I can't remember if it's this one or whether it's another one, but they're saying you're going to have to go with people that you know in person, and that you're only going to get proper sex, where you can touch each other's body and enjoy sex with someone that you actually know, whether it's a friend, a family member or a relative. If we go back 20 years, some of my enemies said you're not going to get anyone because you're mentally handicapped, and you're going to have to wait until my child grows up. And when she's in her teens, back then they said teens. I mean, they're moaning about it used to be 16, you see. Now they're moaning at 18, they're moaning at 21, and some are moaning at 25. So they basically messed it up anyway, because people are moaning about the age gaps because of the modern way of life and the way the media, music industry and TV industry has twisted people's minds to tell you that you're a sicko if you don't go with older attraction. But for those who have been sexually abused and never had sex properly in their whole life, it goes against them as well, especially the ones that are my age. So basically, there has been a couple of people that are saying you're going to have to wait until my child grows up and go with her. But the problem is, what's happened there is these people that have had children, they've grown to look like Lisa Pike. So they were born to be the disgusting, the long black hair type that look like Lisa Pike, which are now sort of look really ugly with rough skin and look basically similar to the Lisa Pike type today. Not even though they look like the Lisa Pike type, they are actually in relationships as well, and single parents, believe it or not. When it comes to being told that you have to go with friends, family or relatives, I mean, there's a few friends I had in the past, but a lot of them fell out with me. So I don't really have friends at all, to be fair. None. So what the prostitute was telling me is not going to work. Because she said that the only way you're going to get sex is to go with a family member. Well, the problem is, the only family members that I have that actually like me in my family is basically 5 members. And there's one school friend that contacted me going back to 2023 called Michael Cornwall that hasn't spoken to me for 30 years either. So we sort of... but the problem is, I don't fancy Michael Cornwall, and I'd prefer a female of sexual appearance. Considering I've been sexually abused, people in the past saying that you should have full right to go with someone who's got a smooth body and sexual face. If you've been sexually abused, you have a right to go with anyone you fucking want to go with. And that was said about 10 years ago, or just under 10 years ago. But people are not like that today. It's all one-sided since this Savem threat came in and everybody's turned against me. They've even turned predictions of clairvoyant girlfriends against me, and they've turned friends that know what my proper name is against me because of this Savem business, and because they think I'm Savem, or think they got the wrong person because they think that Savem looks like me. It's caused many people to fall out with me. I quite literally, apart from possibly one person, that's in one or two people, which is in Yeovil, by the way, which is surprising because I've had to move to Yeovil because of all the problems at my old place. But obviously that Gemma doesn't like me, so that was rude. And then I had a phone call being threatened to be smashed in with her mates and all the rest of it, saying don't fucking leave letters lying about in my workplace because I'll have you fucking arrested or fucking smashed out with all my friends. You won't be fucking living, sort of thing. So she made that suggestion. And then I had a whole load of trouble when I was camping in September near Burnham, when I had appointments and wanted to keep away from the heat wave of 34 degrees Celsius in my room overnight with all the windows open. So when we get past all that, we then find that there is no friends. So basically you've got my mum, you've got my dad, you've got my brother, and then obviously you've got my dad's partner. That's family. When it comes to relatives, quite literally, most of the relatives on my side of the family, ones I've known for years, mind, are okay with me, but they can't help me because there's no single people. There's no one, they can't help me, their friends can't help me, it's not possible. And it's very rare I see them anyway. If we go to sort of friends that are not related, maybe for example, on my mum's side of the family, you've got the relatives that are not too ambitious about me. But if you go to their relatives and their friends, the further you go down the line, you've got them mistaking me as a villain and wanting me shot dead and burgled and whatever, because it gets rough in that area. So basically, and it's not on a good, and it's bad on that side, and also there's no one single either, and there's no one sexual that I'd be able to fancy that they could help me with if that was the case. So basically, you're looking at only new friends or new people that you can find or meet in the street. I mean, going back in the 1990s, a lady that's sexual could go in the street, pinch a bloke's ass and or just start a chat asking for the time, and that same night they can get in a sexual relationship and have sex, proper hardcore sex, not safe sex. So you don't, straight away, you wouldn't have to be told, oh, you have to wait 10 years before we get to know you or anything like that. We won't say, oh, you can only have safe sex to start with, which is using a condom, and then later on you can have hardcore sex, which means you don't have to wear a condom. It's not like that anymore. Like back then, you could just do it the way you normally would. You didn't have condoms in Jesus Christ's day. They didn't even exist. You had proper sex. But the reason they brought condoms in is for those who don't want to get women pregnant or children pregnant. Well, basically, but the real reason that they produced a condom it gets really sad, I'm afraid, because what was happening is back in Victorian times, many men were shagging little children at the age of 6 to 12 and making them pregnant. And because they were young, and they made condoms, or they invented condoms to stop children from becoming pregnant when men have sex with children. So it wasn't actually done because of the issue of women getting pregnant, because people could sort of take their cock out before they come or whatever. But I'm not sure if it's Victorian time or another time, but I do remember that bit of information being... Actually, it's on a conspiracy theory, if I remember, on one of those ones that are not on the YouTube anymore, because they're taking them all off. It's one of those Illuminati conspiracy theories that was shown in 2012. But a lot of the stuff that I was watching back then, I can't even remember what it was, it's a long time ago since I've watched it. But, that's where that came in. So when it comes to family, nobody can help me. Relatives is impossible as well. And like I said, I have no friends. So when the prostitute tells you that you've got to go with someone in the family, that's not possible. And when I've gone to religious places like Christianity places or Jehovah's Witnesses, even them told me that it's not possible. They said, you'll have to wait until your next time around, or wait until Jehovah helps you, or wait until Jesus Christ returns to help you. When you know that Jesus doesn't give a fuck. But you can't tell these people that. You just have to agree with them and accept being sexually abused as a child and there's nothing left. But anyway, I won't go any further than that. I'll just leave it there. And I'm not being funny, but you go back just 20 years ago. I mean, even in the days when I was listening to old school jungle tracks, the really hard jungle stuff, the deep underground jungle tracks. You look on television and you see these nightclubs, you see these fucking teenagers, fucking people my age I am today, or even older than that. You don't get that anymore. You're known as a sicko because the government have twisted everyone's head, or the media has twisted everyone. And also, it was 2004 when people started to get in relationships, and it's too late. As soon as that smartphone was invented, not so much with the other type of phone, just the ordinary Nokia 3310 or whatever, but even then it was difficult. It was mostly the snobs that were having the phones. Everyone was saying everyone has a normal mobile phone was a snob and rich, and they was paying 50p per text at that time. So the price was expensive back in those days, but the rich could afford to have this sort of technology, and many people did have it. There's when it went into that sort of phone area, when you had the smartphone and everything else, that's when I lost, when nobody would make friends with you if you sort of walked them in the street or whatever. It's all different, and that's the problem, and that's why I can't get anyone. And I couldn't get anyone back at that time because people were violent back in that time. They're throwing stones at me. I've even had a BB gun shot in my head before now. If we go back to 2003, and it was fucking painful as well. It hit me inside the head. It caused a bit of bleeding. I'm lucky it didn't hit me in the eye, and I know who did it. I have spoken to the person that done it, And I told him, you know, you could have killed someone or whatever. He didn't really say much. He just sort of laughed, and he's only sort of a youngster at the time. But you know, we were pissing about, because in 2003 they were giving kids BB guns and they were shooting them out at everybody. But they didn't realise that they can do that much damage, you know. So, but yeah, that nobody could have helped me back then either, because the problem was everyone's in a sexual relationship, and they didn't like people that were mentally disabled either, or people out of autism or learning disabilities. You had to be in with the crowd, you had to be in with the hard people. And most of the people back then were listening to happy hardcore music or club tunes. And in actual fact, it's very rare you actually heard of someone that listened to drum and bass, let alone the old school jungle that I listened to. It was a lot different back in 2003 and whatever. They knew what it was, but nobody liked it. They said it's a load of shit. They said that jungle was all fucking crap. You had them that said they like drum and bass, but they don't really listen to it. But jungle is a lot different than drum and bass. I've done the documentary on this many times, because drum and bass is more sort of heavy metal, jump up, sort of much more punchy, much more laid out, with a harder kick than jungle. Jungles are more of a mellow sort of music, and obviously if you're a ravey type person, you don't want mellow music, do you? Jungle's very deep. You've got the sort of sound effects as like what you'd have in the early 80s, like tracks similar to Ultravox Vienna, or Godney and Cream, Under Your Thumb, or the Moody Blues, Nights in White Satin, or the Specials, Ghost Town, or the Stranglers, Golden Brown. If you were to imagine the sound effects you have in those tracks, they'd be the sort of sound effects you'd have in deep underground tracks that were released in 1994. But back in 1994, when my sort of jungle music was released, it was commercial music. Although a lot of it didn't get on CD, and it was mostly on mixtape and vinyl, people, they were even advertising these sorts of tracks that I'm into, these underground tracks like Lee and Gwange Too Deep on Legend Records, or Gwange The Execution on Legend Records, or Nutty One off the Nut EP, or Pesce World of Music, or, you know, tracks like that, or The Alliance First Impressions on Reinforced Records, which was originally released on Legend Records in 1993 as a 10-inch promo before going on to Enforcer 6 later on Reinforced Records. They used to be commercial tracks. They've been on radio stations, they've been on pirate radio stations and legal radio stations, you know. But times have changed. The government has stepped up on the music laws. This is why you can't get this old school stuff, all the underground stuff reissued and sold in HMV today, because the restrictions are too tighter today. We've got to update in time, so all the old stuff is gone. So, you know, that's the end of that. Anyway, going back to the original subject of what I was mentioning, because I've gone quite off the scale here, is, there's no friends that can help me, there's nothing. There's nobody that can find me a partner. You can't just walk into someone. 1 in 1 million. I mean, if we look at this Kim, obviously she had a boyfriend that's 10 years older than me, or just over 10 years older than me. And she was 18 and he was 41. Take into account when she was 28, she was 10 years older, she had rougher looking skin than what she would have had when she was 18, and she wasn't as sexual looking when she was 28 than what she would have been when she was 18. Take into account, between me and her, when she was 28, there was only 10 years age difference, and she's got me down as a sick cunt, where they twisted her mind in just 10 years. Yet 10 years before, she was 10 years younger, she was 18, and she was with a person basically 20 years older than what she was. Yet when it comes to me, when there's only 10 years age gap, 10 years later on, she's nailing me as a sicko because of the age. That's how things have changed today, with people moaning about age gaps. And the next problem is everyone's a single mother when they're a teenager if they're a sexy type person. So, they buggered my life up. And all I'm getting is setups or suggestions to tell me to fuck people that raped me as a child, and that's it. There's nothing I can do. The government have won. They've ripped me to pieces. I can't do nothing because there's too many people after me. There's too many people that are mistaking me as Sivan and Liam, like I said the other day, or yesterday in fact. Anything from 40 to 140, maybe 200 threats per day on a really bad day, which has occurred almost every day in 2022. The same amount for people photographing me per day, and for people sneezing in my face. every day anything from 40, mostly roughly about 50 to 60 to 140 to 200. This year it's mostly been up to 40 and no higher per day. In 2023 there's mostly about 20 people maximum sneezing in my face or coughing in my direction in a day. 2023 wasn't too bad, but this year 2024 is all stepping up again. I just want to quickly mention how jungle music ended, the old school stuff. Well, obviously everybody knows it went into jump up drum and bass in 1997, but I want to get later on in the 90s. What happened was they started putting it down as paedophile music and child molester music, and saying that there's a certain rhythm that catches paedophiles and whatever. And then that died down. So they started releasing a couple of tracks, which were jungle tracks, on some underground compilation CDs that were commercial. So they were commercial, but they weren't massive. So like sub-labels that existed still at the end of the 1990s, but most went under. I mean, you still had like Passion Music that was releasing the Jungle Techno series back in the late 90s. So there were still companies, but they were very restricted on what they were releasing. And if they could, they'd get away with it. They could put that underground track into the mainstream. And then obviously they started taking away that and releasing some Jungle Massive CDs in 2001 area, and whatever else, DJ Hype mixing whatever, and changing the type of jungle they put on there. Just complete rubbish, ragger, commercial jungle tracks, basically, of a very light-headed type of music sound. My music's deep and underground, soulful, and whatever, but the jungle that you get in the charts is more gangstery, more shouty, more aggressive. So it works on the same principle, but it's more based for the youth. You know, they like the violence in the music, and they make the tracks mostly with a lot of reggae influences, a lot of shouting, for the younger generation, which is the type of jungle I don't like. Even though they make music for the younger generation, when they were creating my tracks, you know, they have to do it in a certain way. So when they're making tracks, they make it for a selection of people. They don't just make it for one type of person. So they make it for... So it could be produced by the same artist. Like, for example, the battery went flat. So, for example, Shy FX did a track called Original Nutter. I mean, he could have done other tracks, you know, deep tracks or whatever, that was done with other people. It's usually done with more than one person when it comes to the type of jungle I'm into, I notice. I don't know why that is, but it's usually done by several producers producing a specific track, rather than being a solo track that's been made by just one production artist. I'm not quite sure why that is, but I have noticed that. I mean, there is, but it just seems to be a lot of people that do that seem to be in like a group of several people that have to produce my sort of tracks when it comes to the underground stuff. But anyway, after 2002 passed, you had the hip-hop come in, and then they were starting putting old school jungle tracks down as paedophile and child rapist music. And then they thought it was a good chance to dig out the techno scene as well. So all the people that like the hardcore techno, that wouldn't have gone down well, because you've got some rough people out there that like hard techno music. But they managed it, they did manage it. They started putting that down as paedophile music and child rapist music. And then obviously everyone just switched over to hip-hop. And eventually what happened with the mainstream is they changed the techno into the hardstyle stuff, and then made it commercial, and taken away this proper techno and the happy hardcore stuff. And no one's ever really liked happy hardcore stuff, but they've even sort of managed to do away with that. But they try and get everybody into the mainstream, and what they've done is closed off all the underground scene. And because times have changed, when it comes to the older stuff, if people want it, it's not just with my sort of music, it's with the mainstream tracks, you know, like the 80s pop music or the 90s or the 70s pop music. There's certain tracks that they've been digging with in the past. They've moaned about Ultravox Vienna, about having to get rid of that track. They've moaned about the Moody Blues, Nights in White Satin. They've moaned about Seal, Kiss My Rose. But there's so much, you know, because of the type of track it is, there's certain tracks that are made, that they've produced back in before the 2000s, and they just seem to need to get rid of these tracks. But they're not. What they're doing is they're reissuing them on these CDs, and then later on, once it's been reissued, what they do is they fold it under, or they say they lost a track or an excuse like that, or that's not, but it's politically incorrect in modern time. But you know, I won't be around when they start doing this. But they've got to try and get people into modern music. They've got to change the sound, because it's got to keep up with the times. Everything's got to change with the times and the type of people we have out there. So the styles, the music samples, everything's got to be to the way the modern generation live and the way they want it. And you've got to take into account, a lot of my tracks were common music tracks, you know, the type of samples. I mean, I've played some of this jungle stuff, my underground stuff, and they say it sounds like Dossa's music, or they say it sounds like common as shit. You know, it's common as fucking shit, it's rubbish, you know. It's got no standards in your music, it's all deep, it's all negative, it's all... They sort of... The teenage girls want a bit of stuff that sounds a bit more posh, you know, has a bit of ooh sort of sound in it, you know. And everybody wants to sort of, you know, and they've got to change the music, you see. Hip-hop's the most negative music, or the darkest type of music you'll get in modern times that doesn't have that. But even that's going to be changing soon. They're going to have to change that as well. I'm not quite sure what the future is of music, but it's going into like a trap direction, which is building up in the same way, because you had this dubstep stuff, which started off with like jungly break beats, which didn't last very long at all, and they just went straight off into a different area. It started going into all this disco sort of beats, and so on. Then it went into trap and hip hop, and now they're putting all the sort of categories are merging with that, and it goes into like the style jump up drum and bass, and then obviously later on it's going to go into commercial sounds of the charts. They're trying to end it all, you see. They're trying to. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it, but that's what they're doing. Anyway, I could go on forever mentioning things about this subject of music, but I'm just going to leave it there because, you know, I'm looking forward to seeing what the next vehicle is, because obviously they've timed a vicious-looking Democrat van. It'd be just be interesting to know what the next vehicle is going to be. I mean, it might not happen until I walk back, but whatever happens, it'd just be interesting just to mention what the next suggestion is, whether it's a t-shirt, a bottle on the floor, you know, a van name. It'd just be interesting to see what the next thing is, and I'll let you know when it happens. There's something I want to mention. For the last 9 years I've been collecting I've inhaled how many fucking flies today. Right, yeah, so I've been collecting haunted objects since I first heard of them on eBay, and they used to be very expensive, but now they've dropped in price. So yeah, like haunted rings, jars, bottles, tableware, old-fashioned haunted grandfather clocks, haunted black and white photographs, haunted Ouija boards and voodoo dolls that have been used in rituals. But the most common one that's haunted is porcelain dolls. Because a porcelain doll is in the shape of a human figure, whether it be a granny, child or an adult or whatever, it means that spirits can communicate easier through what looks like a person than it would, say, from a haunted photograph or haunted stone or haunted jar or whatever. So what happens is when a person dies, they're attached to a certain object, and they will follow that object because they treasured it in life, which means they make that place haunted wherever they go, because they want to be around that object and they don't want that object to be lost, stolen or broken or anything else. However, if something does get chucked out, spirits will move on to another object, or they would just float around wherever they're going. I used to buy haunted porcelain dolls. Initially I was sort of looking at rings, and I bought a ring, I think, I can't remember. So haunted dolls, I've been sort of looking at for about 15 years. The very first haunted doll I had is one I gave my mum, so I thought I would give mum that one, and I keep the bid on for the other one, which was Haunted Louise. So I bought that one, and I was experiencing hell suggestions, and an opening like a portal in my wall, which was like a fire filled with lava, volcanoes and all that sort of stuff. And I thought, well, it's like that. And then there's another occasion where spooky sort of... so I got rid of that specific doll, took it to a charity shop after having it for 6 months. I did notice when I got rid of that specific doll, all the setups around me increased in that time period. Straight away after I got rid of that doll. The next time is... I've never had dolls as bad as that since. Then we had a phase where I went into Christianity, going back later on, but let's just get with the dolls first. So I started buying a couple of more dolls. I bought a load and ended up chucking them out or whatever, you know. just couldn't be arsed, or something caused me to just felt down in the dumps, didn't want friends, didn't want nothing, and I got rid of them. So then I started going to church after that, and then obviously there was did church before I moved to where I am now. I spoke to someone called Tim before when I moved to Yeovil. He said it wasn't until he was 31 or 32 that he found his first ever girlfriend. He said that's a very old age to be finding a girlfriend, saying most people have had someone in their teens and their 20s. But he didn't know my age back at that time. I was actually 10 years older than him. And he said Jesus Christ helped him, he loves him, and he's going to help you too get a girlfriend. He said it won't be too long either. He says all you got to do is pray to God. And what happens? In the 4 years that I went to church, or 3 years or whatever, going to church and doing this, my life just got worse and worse and worse, and 2022 is the worst direct threat, trouble I had in my whole life. And also the setups are increased as well since the lockdown. So yeah, God helps, and there's still the voice sounds where God's animals are saying, going to break in, you're going to have you've been raped as a child, or this or that, or you're being knifed dead, or accusing me of rape, saying you're going to the fire of hell, this and that. You're being knifed, you're being beat up, you're having a break in, I just lost everything. You're a child rapist, just you raped Sadie, or stuff like that, And that increase of the voice sound started to increase since December 2022, and it's as bad as what it is between 2005 to about 2011 period. It's gone back to that stage again, because after 2011, 2012ish, it started to calm down for a few years, though it was quite bad in 2015, 2016 area, and so was the loud bike issue, where nearly every single bike on the road between 2015 and 2017 was tied to an erection. There's actually one of those years, completely the whole year from start to finish, every bike on the road, every erection that I got, a bike was timed regardless. And then shortly after that, they started to time lookalikes to people who sexually abused me as a child, tying to an erection if they couldn't time a bike. But in most cases nowadays, regardless of what else they put in your direction, a loud bike is timed regardless, persistently, continuously. And it's got more tighter since the lockdowns, though it was tight before the lockdowns. It didn't break the circuit when we went into lockdown. Anyway, once we came out of the lockdowns and I moved to Yeovil, I was still going to church, really taking it seriously, not pissing about. But, Jesus didn't help me, God didn't help me, my life just got worse and worse. And I was saying, maybe in your next life, God will help. And Tim was saying, and speaking to the rector, he said, well, God's supposed to help you in this life, not just got to wait till your next life, God helps you in this life as well. And then it sort of spoke, things were worsening. At church, if there's a loud bike time to an erection while praying or singing, the seagull go, ha 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 ha. Or when I walked out of church, there's always people walking in my direction ready to attack me. And a crow would go, ha ha ha, as almost someone shouts at me or whatever. And saying, Justin being beaten to death with a knife, ha 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 ha. Or, ha, you child molester, and stuff like that when you've never had sex in your whole life. It was twisted like that. So in the end, I gave up on that. I thought, God's turned against me. There's nothing I can do about it. Then I thought I'm not going to get anyone, so I thought, I'll still go to these places occasionally, but I should pretend to be religious and do this just for a bit of fresh air, because there's nothing else I can do, and there's no way you can socialise, because it's the only way you can make friendship. Anyway, I'm not going to get anyone, so what I did is I went back to the occult and started buying more haunted dolls. And the occasional doll that wasn't haunted that I liked and looked really nice, I'd buy that as well, but most of them have ended up a couple of them have ended up broken, or I've had to chuck, or just gone off of it, or whatever. There's one I wanted to bid on yesterday, in fact, but I lost my bid, so that was a no good. Anyway, as it stands now, I'm sort of looking at Lucifer. There's a YouTube channel called Lucifer, Light and Mystery, the Temple of Lucifer. And it sort of was interesting stuff, He'll help you to get a girlfriend or whatever. And the other thing is, I still got to wait for this Yvonne to come in my life. And I don't know which religion to rely on, whether it's safe to go to Christianity, or whether God's going to put it through, or Jesus is going to put it through, or whether to worship Lucifer, or whether that's going to be put through, or just to sort of dwell in an area where you're doing nothing until the girlfriend comes into my life. The clairvoyant didn't say what age this Yvonne is, but she said it's not going to fall through. It was about 3 weeks ago, roughly, when I had the reading. And And she said that as soon as the 1st of June comes, that's going to be the starting time of when this Yvonne comes into my life. And it'd be no longer in a couple of months, maybe 3 months at a push, when you get to know her. But she said it'd be before Christmas 2024 when I'm actually in a sexual relationship with her. And obviously the clairvoyant said she's not going to moan too much about age gaps or anything like that. She's just someone you're going to like, she's someone you're going to fancy. So I thought to myself, if it's someone I'm going to fancy, it's going to be someone I can, it's definitely going to be someone younger, because I don't take to the negative type. And obviously not a single mother, because obviously she would have known that when she gave me the reading. So it's not a single mother, because I've said this in the past. I don't want single mothers. They're not my responsibility. If you're going to stay with someone and make mistakes with someone, you stay with that person. You don't give them the leftover pieces of shit which you violated me with in the first place, like you have all with my life, sort of thing. As I just mentioned, that a seagull goes, ah, ah, ah. But like I said, God takes a piss out of me. God's going to keep on doing it. Anyway, this Yvonne, if I was to guess her age, I'm not saying I'm right, but I'd say she's about the high 20s, something like that. So she's got to be younger than me, and she's got to be someone I can fancy. So that's just a guess. I might be wrong. She might be older. No, she can't be older, because she said it's going to be younger. But how much younger, I do not know. But whatever it is, it's not going to fall through. But I didn't actually say anything to her. She actually told me. She said, I've just passed a death card in the tarot card reading. So she said, you'll pass that. She said, the change is now taking place. That death card's already passed. So I can't remember what the cards were that I had, but I had something like, I had the High Emperor or something like that, with a death card, and then the Lover's card. I think the Lover's card was quite close to the death card. I think it was the next card along, actually. But she said that's what, so yeah, she could be right, but like I said, but what happened the day after the reading? Actually, the same day as I had the reading, there's a whole load of setups time, loud bikes to erections, and basically lookalikes to, well, I won't say the lookalike of what the person is, but it's being tied to an erection. And then obviously the sun was cursing me on that day as well. So, and there was a load of setups saying black and blue and whatever else. The following day, I went to meet up with a support worker, social worker or whatever, because she was leaving her post with me. So I don't have a social worker, support worker anymore. And as I went to go meet her, there was an Yvonne van, which is the name of the girlfriend prediction, followed by a no chance van. So I thought that's very interesting. And then the following day after that, they stopped me getting on the bus service, and I was walking into a load of threats and had forced home. And where I was staying in all day, going nowhere, I actually ended up getting a headache the following day. I couldn't do anything the following day. I was stuck in bed, and I just sort of went locally. I can't remember if I went out on that day, but. And then obviously we went back to our normal days, and then we had heavy setups every single day since. Well, I've made it to the road. Initially I was forced in the other direction, but now I'm being forced in my regular direction again, because I've had to change. They got a girls' event where it's all about sexy clothing and sexy this and sexy that. And it's like everyone dresses up and they're having like a party that's taking place in a field. So while passing these people that I was speaking to, they said that the public footpath is still free, but it's not actually starting yet. But I didn't want to go that way anyway, because when it does start, I'm not going to be able to get back easily. And I didn't fancy taking a road or anything like that. But there's also a Tesco van, which is makes the law and suggestion curse. I guess you could say that's the first worded vehicle that's occurred since the Democrat van. But not really going into much suggestion. I was sort of hoping for a more suggestive wording. But like I said, I was going to state what it was, the first suggestion, and that's what it is. So it's a Tesco van. Just to let you know how the weather's been, there has actually been a 20-minute period where it's actually been cloudy. Well, not cloudy, but sort of hazy sunshine, where the clouds going over blocking the sun to a little bit. It's still coming through, but very faintly. And then obviously I was in the wooded area where the trees are keeping me dry, cool as well. So take away that 20 minutes of hazy sunshine, and a hazy bit of sunshine that lasts about 3 minutes while walking down this path on and off. Then it's been blue skies and sunshine right through the whole day. While speaking into this camera, someone says, Shut your face, gonna tip you off, you child rapist. And now I'm being bombarded with catalytic converter control. So that's the average amount of cars you get down here, is just one car. Since I've been on that road there's been 3, which is slightly less than usual, but being choked by catalytic converter. Van with one light out and choked by catalyst. Bonus, a bike only. And then the sun comes out brighter as that bike occurs, and it cheaper more time to that bike. Crow says, shagged Stephanie, your life gone. Well, I haven't shagged Stephanie, that's the problem. Something I want to mention, although Stephanie is not someone I really fancied, when you consider the age that people are in my age group, or the way people are turning into munters, or these ugly types that look like Lisa Pike, or the type I nicknamed the toffs, which is like a unhygienic appearance where it looks like someone's got tomato ketchup in their teeth and look like they're dribbling but have like a face that looks like it's burnt with shingles or got warts all over it, or you know, just looks very disgusting, or and sort of have misted up glasses, black greasy hair, very fat build with a unhygienic appearance or rough skin or whatever. And the type, I don't like insulting people, but I'm trying to explain what I'm trying to explain because people don't understand. Well, Stephanie and that lady that looks like a poodle dog were probably 2 of the people that I didn't really go much on, or thought was pretty negative attraction when I was a kid, or a younger age, like in my teens I thought. And the lady that looks like the poodle dog was actually, everyone at the college, at Yeovil College, thought she looked ugly. Well, today, if I was to say the 2 sexiest people that I could possibly fancy out of all those people that I've known, or people that have gone into negative attraction, I'd probably say it is Stephanie and that lady that looks like a poodle dog. But unfortunately I can't go with that lady that looks like the poodle dog, because unfortunately she's turned against me because of this Savenne business. But it's not done by her as such as much. It's the people that she's been located with or was around when she was on the train. And when I did see her on other occasions, she didn't give me an evil eye as such, but there's a sort of dark look. It's there, but it wasn't as overpowering as is like I really, really hate you sort of look. But she's got in a relationship and she's now a single mother with someone who doesn't like me and thinks I'm Savannah and gives me trouble when I see him. So that's out the door. When it comes to Stephanie, she's been in a relationship since about 2008 area, maybe a bit before, I can't remember the year. So I can't really sort of ask her if she's single or anything like that. And going back in that time, they were insulting her and taking the piss out of her just because she had mental health problems. And they're sort of taking the piss out of me as well, saying that if you fancy Stephanie, always stupid, and they started accusing me of raping her when I haven't. When it comes to Stephanie, I don't know this for sure, but there's a possibility that Dave Franklin, who is Esme Bowyer's son, my dad's ex-girlfriend's, well, basically my dad had an ex-partner called Esme, and Esme had a son called David Franklin, who's a couple of years younger than me. There's a possibility he got in a sexual relationship with Stephanie Hill, Stephanie Jill, back in the 2003 period. And if we go back a little bit before that, how accurate this information is I do not know, but I think Jason Dando may have had communication with that Stephanie as well. But I'm not going to go into details without being told the full story, and it wouldn't be right to go into their private business without their consent. So I'm just going to leave it there on that. So, but as it stands today, Stephanie is just going into negative attraction when I last saw her. So she's just gone out the period where I'm able to possibly fancy her, unfortunately. She's only just gone into negative attraction. I mean, there's a possibility, skimming it to the minimum, I could possibly just about, if she was single, just about be able to do her sort of thing, but it would be touch and go because she's gone into negative attraction very rapidly, only in the last 3 years, because just before I moved to Yeovil, she still had that sexual smooth skin, and you know, the way she sort of just in 3 years, how she's aged, well 2 years, or 2 and a bit years, because I've obviously haven't been to Bridgewater for a time, but when I did last see her, you can see that she's going into sort of attraction where she's going to probably now, I probably wouldn't be able to fancy her now, because it's good and 3/4 of a year since I last saw her, so it's not good, is it? Especially when you've not had anyone your whole life. I mean, even that Gemma, the Gemma that I mentioned, she's starting to go in that position as well. And also, the only one I can really fancy out of everybody I've sort of known is that one that looks like the poodle dog. But like I said, she's got in a relationship and they made her a single mother. Everyone else is out the door. There are many other people's names, like, I don't give the surnames, but they're people that have accused me of doing, or, raping or whatever. The Sally business that went on back in 2012, 2013. Well, I tried to get to know her, but she didn't remember me, so I left her. I didn't want to cause trouble, and I was being accused of chasing her. So I thought, well, it was like that. It's too dangerous to communicate, because obviously she's not going to like me anyway. So I just left it at that. But because I was using the bus service on a regular basis, she thought I was chasing her, or people were getting angry about it. When I wasn't, I was just using the bus service because I use the bus service on a frequent basis. There's nothing else to do, and I wanted to try and look for partners, basically, alternative to her, because I couldn't find anybody, and I still haven't today. Well, she's gone into negative attraction, and she looks basically like Lisa. Well, she does now. She might not have, say, 5 years ago, but yet she's literally an identical looking to that picture of Lisa, so that's true when it comes to Sally. When it comes to Sadie, I can't take to that type now either, and I don't want to insult people, but she is actually sort of very similar to Lisa as well. Obviously, there's many accusations and threats that I've had regarding this Sadie, but I wouldn't be able to fancy her. She's definitely looks almost identical to the Lisa in the picture that I took off Facebook, which I always say I can't take to. So yeah. The other person that's gone is Gemma. Gemma's the one that has sort of argued with me, which I mentioned when I left a letter in the shop to say that to meet up or whatever, but she's just suddenly gone into that negative attraction, which occurred from September last year, when which I was mentioned many times. So she's just about gone into it. She just about fancy her, just about. So you could just about, possibly even now, just about, but it'd be difficult, and it'd be better than nothing if that was possible. But she doesn't like me, so that's through as well. Amanda Millis, she's through, but then again, that's just one of Sadie's friends. When it comes to Kim Hobbs, or Cox, or whatever her surname is nowadays, she's never liked me anyway. So, and because she's born, sort of, she's just basically very negative. And you have Enya Pierce, who's one of Sadie's friends. She's no good. She's gone. Factory runs that. Dion Brooks is another one. She's gone into negative attraction where nobody can fancy her. And I think they're all single mothers anyway, all these people I'm mentioning. So it make any difference, and more than one. So, and obviously, like I said, I don't want to go in a relationship with someone who's a single mother or been in relationships with other men, as I wouldn't fit in right, because obviously I've never had anyone. I mean, I can't even find anyone that's mentally disabled I can get in a relationship with. I've already done a documentary of that. Anyway, Dion Brooks, gone. Who's the other one? Gemma Copperfield or something like that, I think it is. She's gone into negative attraction as well. That's one of Sadie's friends. She's probably about 30ish, something like that. She had other friends as well. There's one, I can't remember what her name is, but she was a sort of mentally disabled person, but even when she was in her teens, she was in a sexual relationship. I mean, and quite literally, out of all the people that she knew there, that's the only ones I've seen there. So, you know, it goes back to what I said earlier. It's not possible for anybody at all. I mean, there are some people that can't take to negative attraction, and I'm one of them. But it gets worse because if you go to foreign countries, they don't turn like this. They don't go into this sort of negative attraction at such an early age. You're looking at around about the age of 60, maybe 65, before this type of attraction occurs. But in the UK, they seem to get that negative attraction come on rather quickly, like still in their sort of 20s. So it makes it very, very difficult, I noticed. In places like the Philippines, I mean, obviously nowadays, because they have a different way of life and they eat all this chemical food and take drugs, and do all different things which affects their body or whatever. People are looking a lot more different. So, but you still got people in their 40s, that still look sexual in foreign countries. I mean, these people that have healthy diets, like in China or Taiwan or the Philippines, you'll find that when they're in their 50s, they still got the same type of skin they had when they were in their late teens. It's not rough skin, it's sort of smooth, sexy type of skin that all the gents like or go for. But it's not like that anymore. People seem to... I'd say the average age, I mean, it doesn't happen with all people because some people are born to look negative. But on average, the average age of when people go into negative attraction, I mentioned this in the UK, that is. I mentioned this on Facebook, going back about a decade or so ago. I said it's around the age of 27. And I said I can't take to people over that age back at that time. When it comes to foreign people, foreign countries, they seem to hold out their sexual appearance for more years. So some can go up to about 55 as an average, maybe even 60, and in rare cases even at 65 still have that sexual appearance, but it's not like that anymore in the UK. They seem to get that horrible, ugly, and everybody are fat as well. All the people that I'm being offered or being told to go with, I've noticed that every time it's always been the fat person, always. Yeah, all my enemies have fucked all these teenagers, made them all pregnant, and have fucked my life up completely, as I was mentioning on this video earlier on. Now there's police sirens. I will mention something. I'm actually a man that's aged 43, coming up 44. And believe it or not, taking into account I'm a male, I've got smoother skin than all those ladies that I just mentioned at this age. And I'm not making that up. Right, so I just started to make a documentary regarding this Stephanie, just to give some back history. And I keep timing police sirens. Well, Stephanie and Sadie are the two that the police keep on making accusations that I've raped. Initially it went to claiming that I've fucked my a family member who's younger than me, basically. And then they knew that I was stirring trouble, and then I got in trouble for it myself, and my father wasn't happy on anything else of what I mentioned. So the police decided to twist it as Stephanie Hill, and then it went on from there onwards. And then they started coming around mine trying to arrest me in sexuality in the early days, before they started to change. However, that's all changed again since I moved to Yeovil. The police have started digging at me again, not taking into account that I've never had sex with these girls and been sexually abused as a child, and still haven't had anyone at the age of 43. I'm not going to give the names of the people in authority, like, people, for example, like social workers or whatever, but I will say something. Some specific person told me that the police are going a little bit far with what they're doing, saying, that with what they're saying and thinking and whatever, and saying that, to be honest, they actually said that they shouldn't be telling me this, obviously, but they said the police would be happy if you weren't around. That's what I was told. But I'm not going to say who said this, and I never will, because the fact that this person had wanted to tell me this, I mean, it's good that he told me this, So obviously I'm not going to grass that person up, because the fact that he's given me, told me what they said, to me, it's good news. He's actually telling the truth. He's actually allowing me to get a bit of information. So obviously I'm not ever going to grass that person up who told me this. But yes, I was told that the police don't really like me and they could do away with me and whatever. And the other thing is they've had to safeguard me since I moved up Thorn House, because the police came around and they accused me of raping a girl, and the staff had to tell me this, and the staff were saying that they had to that the police made a big mistake, because the time it happened, I was actually in the staff office having a meeting at my one-to-one support session time of 6:30 in the evening, going back to 2022 or 2023. I can't remember what year it was now. And obviously the police made a mistake. Yeah, they did. They seriously did. They thought I raped someone and they wanted to make an arrest. And then they had to look on CCTV at the place that I live at, Thorn House, at this minute in time, and I had to confirm where I was at that time. And believe it or not, at the time of the incident, I was in a support session with the staff, speaking to them at Thorn House, and obviously I was in for most of that day on that specific day, and I was on CCTV. Luckily it was in the time period when the CCTV was working and it wasn't down. So, but obviously that CCTV has actually been down more since I've been there than it has been working. So, you know, it's been down, literally, it's been down more. So I've been there for 3 years, so it's been down for over a year and a half at times, and possibly just over half a year where it's actually been working since I've been there. So it's lucky that it was working at the time that this accusation was made, or the police wanted to make an arrest, mistaking me as being the person that did this, and went to try and arrest me, and they couldn't because I didn't do anything wrong. So, you know, they don't get the facts right, the police, they just go with what they think. So, nothing you can do about it. Just before I actually moved from Burnham-on-Sea to Yeovil, the police have actually accused me of criminal damage that I haven't done. They've accused me of breaking the wood on the bridge between the co-op shop and the beach at Barrow, when that's nothing to do with me. So that's either done by my ex-mugger Dan Morgan, because he was getting rattled and there was things that he was doing because he didn't like it because I was moved to Burnham-on-Sea at that time, or in the early days, or it's done by somebody else. Now, the reason I was suspecting it was done by Dan is because I noticed on routes where my ex-mugger was walking, there was a lot of damage done and graffiti as well, and FRB, so the word Ferb was occurred. And then there was like a black wing fly drawings that were everywhere, that were in black and yellow snake drawing things that was popping up everywhere as well, across, including Breamfort. Actually, I've taken a photo of it as a picture. Although it's graffiti and not very good graffiti, it does look nice at the Breamfort, and I decided to photograph it and put it in my places folder, which is like an album where I keep family photos, photos of places and old lights and whatever, which I call my photos. The other thing is I was accused of trying to break into an old granny's house and did a smash window, which was also just a couple of roads up from where I live, where she had a burglary. So the police tried making accusations that I did that as well, when I didn't, which is another thing that pissed me off. So obviously I didn't go to court or anything. I said I'm not responsible, and I said you can check on the CCTV what I was doing that day. So they asked what I was doing on that day, and I said I was on the beach on that day. And then they said there's CCTV in the lighthouse, did you know that? And I said, well, you definitely see me then. And then all the rest of it, and then on that day, so they never got back to me on those issues, but they still accused me of 2 of those things, which is not good, which is criminal damage to the fence, because they mentioned it on my last arrest, when they arrested me, when I put a couple of negative haunted dolls at Highbridge Court, the place where people were shouting some threats, because someone was in there that didn't like me, and that's in the house, that was in the supported housing place for mentally dangerous people that was built on next to where I used to live at Burnham-on-Sea, called Highbridge Court. And now and again we've had some nasty people in there, and they accused me of adding a Now CD to the collection when I didn't put a Now CD there, and something else that was there which I didn't put there either. So I just admitted to the dolls, and I ended up getting in trouble, and that's the last time I got in trouble with the police. When I was taken into the police station, believe it or not, the setups on that road were just as nasty as they are today, with setups digging up me sick. They was putting every possibility of setups in my path, tying bikes to erections. You had a whole load of animal sounds being done in a corrupt way, and I couldn't fucking state or write down anything at all, because I was literally, I think it was the police that took me on that day, I can't remember. Someone took me, and then I think, it might have been my dad actually. I'm thinking of the other occasion, aren't I? Back in the Bridgewater incident. Anyway, whatever happened, I was in Bridgewater Court for that time, and then obviously they let me go, but only just. I've been arrested loads of times, you know. Once they've arrested you once, they arrest you all the time. They keep on finding bits and pieces. They've actually arrested me in the past for something I've not done, but there's nothing you can do about it. So I just said there's nothing to do with me. I said you have to get better evidence and confirm the evidence, take fingerprints of the thing or whatever. And they say they're not going to bother with fingerprints. They say if it's something like murder, then yeah. But on a little thing like this, we're not going to bother. We just want the truth, you know. It pisses you off. But yeah, the police have been one-sided right through my time. And then they sort of came to my flat saying there's been children in your flat, and I said no, there's been no children at my flat. I said the only person that's visited my flat back at that time was Ian Dando and two of his mates, or one of his mates on occasions. So and that wasn't really that often. So and then they started having a go saying no, these were girls, these were young girls I reported. I said there's been no young girls. So they've been getting really sort of snappy. I don't know who's reported it, but going back to 2003, when I was still living with family, believe it or not, someone, unless I'm making it up of course, has accused me of beating my nan up and have social service documentation of a report claiming I kicked and beat my dad's ex-partner up, Esme, which I've never known anything about or never knew about the reports in my whole life until I was told when I moved to where I am now at Thorn House. And this is one of the reasons the staff don't get on with me very well, and why they say that, when I sort of mentioned that they're set up saying you've been sexually abused as a child, and they said we totally agree with it, we agree with what this punishment is, because they think I've done all this when I haven't, so they're looking on my profile, and every time there's a new worker that comes in, a staff worker, they say they have to inform them of what I did in the past, which is not true. So I'm being accused of beating my nan up, kicking my nan about, and also claiming that I've been beating and kicking Esme, who's my dad's ex-partner, about. And obviously all that's written in my folder, even though it's not true, it still has to be brought up when a new staff worker goes to the supported housing where I live. They have to be told all this information. So that's another possibility of why they don't like me. And then obviously in the past I've had a couple of pedo threats, especially in the early days. The early days was really bad when I first moved there, especially the first 2 years. Things are getting a bit calmer at the moment. Obviously there's some newer workers that are here and there with me at times, but it's never going to be perfect. But obviously, like I say, things are starting to take a toll now, and obviously since April this year, where things are getting bad and threats are increasing, and when I've been hit and all the rest of it and smashed in the mouth and knifed in the jaw or whatever, I'm starting to take things a little bit nasty. It's ended up with things going all over the place in churches and me hitting out at things and shouting and all the rest of it, which I never used to do. Even just last year, it's very rare that I do that, but I'm being sexually crucified and I'm not accepting it. I've had the piss taken out of me, being ripped to pieces, animal voice sounds on the increase, setups on the increase, being mistaken to them, people threatening to smash me up, threatening to bash me in, actually physically hitting me now, chasing me with a knife in 2022, 2 days in a row at 9 Springs. All this sort of action starting to take its toll, and you think to yourself, God's fallen against you, God's not helping. So this is why, for the first time in my life, I'm starting to turn nasty and getting revenge. And it's going to get worse and worse as I get older and older, with no sex still in my whole life. Then nobody can help me, you see. Going back to what not psychic, where there's that possibility, there's that Yvonne. But I have no hope in it, you see, because the setups have occurred that they're going to try and mess it up. The girlfriend reading that the clairvoyance giving. So, and when we go to the prostitute, even she said that you're not going to get anyone now. They're saying because people in the UK are a bit different. And she's right, and this is 10 years ago now. And she says the only way you're going to get anyone is to fuck a relative or fuck a family member or a friend. That's the only way you can do it. You're not going to get a new personal mate friendship. Because I've tried that anyway, After 2014, I went to places, not the Palace nightclub. I did go in there in 2006, but I was on my cousin Jason Dando's birthday. I think it's his 21st. And I had to leave because they went upstairs to see the sexy women that were upstairs looking for the guys to take home the guys. And those sexy women up there were stroppy about me going up there and getting nasty. And there was another bloke up there that was getting nasty with me. So they called me up. They were continuing to walk up the stairs. My cousin, I thought if it's like that, I'm going to end up being smashed or whatever. And things got worse. And they were saying that I was a sick cunt or whatever, even though I was like 20 years younger than early back in those days. And I was forced down. And I ended up walking out the back of the Palace nightclub in a mush, sort of feeling like sorrow. Walked out. There's a bloke trying to get in through the back. He gave me no trouble. He was just shouting at the security guard, having a go at him. And then I walked to the graveyard and went for a sit in the graveyard, where I sat there for about 35 minutes, something like that, and then walked home. and I never went to the Palace nightclub again. And it was on a calm night. They were playing hard techno music, trance sort of music I call it, sort of clubby trance stuff. One of the tracks that was playing there was the Green Martian, the harmonic minor, which is like a darky type, commercial sounding, trancey club tune. This is on the Ultimate Trance album collection, which is a 6 CD set, is on the purple CD. I think it's track 2. A deck of dance recordings, I think, because I used to have the CD. So that's that. The only other time I really socialised was after 2014, because everyone was kicking chairs around in restaurants and smashing tables up, smashing glass bottles through windows, and having fights. And it would occur every time you go anywhere, and you just couldn't even go to these places. It's all the time, and going, trying to socialise was very difficult, and it wasn't until 2014 that I could do this. So when I started in 2014, people were moaning, saying, they would start in rows, sexy women say, don't fucking start speaking to me. Are you in my smartphone friends list? Do I know you? Don't fucking start trying to chat people up or trying to speak to people or make friendly conversations with people you don't know. So when you go to social places like that, or even some form of coffee mornings, but not coffee mornings, I'm not sure the proper name of it, this is back in 2014 area, anyone you were speaking to saying, well, you don't just come across to our table and fucking say alright, you don't even fucking know us, because they had an attitude about you just doing that, and then saying, you just can't make friendship in that way. They say, and one person was saying, I can't remember when it was, saying you're supposed to know people at school, and if you haven't known those people at school, that's it, that's your life gone. You're not going to get anyone. That's what they say, and they start arguing. Many people on dating sites themselves, if I don't know you in person, don't add me, saying I'm here to make people with a friendship only if I know you in person. That's why I'm on a dating site. I don't chat to anybody unless I know them in person. And most of them are scam anyway, and I've wasted 10 grand on these dating sites, and they're set up and rigged sites that are fake, even the most common ones like Plenty of Fish, where they're using fake characters to rip people off when there's not really anybody on there. So, you're paying £1.50 per message on one of the sex escort sites just to find that there's a snag site that's there to rip you off with a fake person making money pretending to be that person. It's the same on Zoosk. They do it on Zoosk. You've got fakers on there making money behind the scenes on the big name sites. I've had it on all of it. The only one that hasn't occurred on is Beaver Street. But even on Beaver Street, when people met up, you've had that what's known as Michael Jackson prostitute, Jeanette, as she named herself, who robbed me of 800 quid. She didn't even fucking give me proper sex or anything like that. And she was claiming she was a single person as well. And she was quite negative looking. She wasn't a pretty person. She was, for her age, she actually looked slightly more negative than Lisa Pike did when she would have been that age roughly. So, it wasn't exactly the sexiest person. And she looked a bit older than what she was described as. She said she was only turned 18 or whatever. I would say she was about 22-ish. But either way, whatever age she is, it basically counts as nothing, and just a robbery. That's it, scam robbery. And obviously the boyfriend that pretended to be the car dealer when I was being scammed, he looked very similar to the person that went to smash me out, pretending to be a single person that wanted to smash me out on the railway track at Highbridge back in the April time period of 2022. Saying he wanted to knife me and smash me on the railway track when he met in Bridgewater. And I sort of run, scream, because there's no way I would have been able to fight this person because he's a reptilian build. Hard build, sort of reptilian hybrid type of build. So, that's that. Anyway, 2015 and 2016 would have been the days of when I saw this Lauren in Tesco's and she saw my CD cover saying, "Is anyone single?" But before I had a chance to get to know her or speak to her, she sort of went to smile and say alright. But times after that, enemies were passing me in the shop, and I was sort of in a dangerous situation. I had to keep avoiding aisles because of the way it was being timed. In actual fact, I've been forced out of that Tesco's before now, where people have had arguments. And then the days come of the earliest Savem threats and the Liam threats come in. And then that's the start of all the problems that we get today, and the loss of all the rest of the friends that I've had in my life. But before we go to that, firstly, let's talk about 2015 and 2016. I couldn't socialise that much in that time period. because I was still getting threats, although there was still a couple of threats under my proper name. People were giving me shit out of stuff that's already been sorted out by some people, and obviously some people that were giving me trouble, saying that I've been with Stephanie or whatever in the past, or the Sadie business, started to die out, and a lot of people started to leave me alone before I moved from Bridgewater. But there were still those other people out there that were still holding on to those threats, who haven't been told that it's not true, sort of thing. Today it was not just back then, sorry, it was not just one-sided, and people left me alone because they found out that people were shit stirring, and they were even accusing the police of shit stirring as well, which they were, yeah. So, but when I moved to Burnham, things started to go one-sided again, and some of the threats I was getting could go back to 2001, you know, right back. I mean, go right back in time from when I sort of moved. So even some of the threats were even going back to the late 1990s from when I was at Bridgewater College, believe it or not. And this was in 2015, 2016 area. Anyway, socialising became very difficult. But as soon as we hit the year of sort of 2016, 2017, I couldn't socialise anyway because all the Savem threats were coming in. And just to socialising anywhere was impossible. And then even under the coffee mornings, and then we sort of started the churches and all the rest of it, which I mentioned earlier. And then obviously after the lockdown, there was a quiet space where I walked into two specific people. I think they're both called Gemma, I'm not sure. But one of them was Gemma Ferguson. And I sort of said alright to her on the beach quite a few times, you know. And this is why I left that letter in shop. Well, you know, she's sexy, she's got to know me a bit, but when I left that letter, she started about getting nasty, saying I don't fucking know you, and if you want to fucking start, I'll get my fucking people and you'll end up fucking smashed in, fucking beaten to fucking death, you won't be alive anymore. And said, I'll have my right mind to fucking phone the police. And said, I'm keeping that fucking letter. And said, I don't want to fucking see you ever again, you're fucking sick. You say, you've got the fucking nerve to leave a message for a 30, I can't remember if she said 31, but I think she said either 30 or 31 year old lady. Makes you fucking sick, you fucking sad bastard. And obviously she put the phone down after that, and I just left it at that, and I haven't got involved since. So, and then obviously because of this Savem threat, it's caused all the people at Burnham on Sea to turn against me, as I mentioned. September 2023, just the last night that I was camping at King's Cliff, after going to appointments and having to camp out because of 34-degree heat waves at night in my bedroom, meant there was over 50 people that were walking past me when I was walking out of the woodland, either dog walkers or people in cars, actually giving me a nasty look as if I'm a sick fucking bastard, or making threats out their car window or as they walk past, thinking I'm Savem, every one of them. And then there was another person, included in the 50, that was giving me shit from the bedroom window. I've already mentioned this, but I just want to re-mention it for this video. So this is like council estate, and people were starting on me there, so I sort of avoid that area. And then after that, when there was people actually on the road, included in the 50 that is, shouting from cars as I was waiting for the bus. Now we get on the bus, there's 12 people on the bus that were starting on me on this, the bus that goes from Burnham on Sea to Taunton. So 12 people were digging at me, photographing me, thinking I was Savem, threatening to smash me and all the rest of it. So I got past there, I got off in a different place than what I was initially going to get off at Taunton, and I went to Lidl's to have a go to there. 5 people in Lidl's gave me a threat. A police officer actually heard it, and he was looking to see what was going on. He heard what was, you could tell he heard what it was, but whether he made a note of it, probably didn't, because he was more interested in sort of, but he would definitely have heard it, and that's a guarantee. He heard what was said. Then 2 people started on me, a woman in the car, saying you ain't going to get sex, we fucked it up for you because you're Savem, said basically, when that's not my name, which is not a good thing to say when my name is not that and I've never had sex in my whole life, apart from being sexually abused as a child. Then the person, who's a bearded type person, gave me a threat in the following car. Then 2 people started me on the path after that, and then above the fish and chip shop on the main road, someone in a house window above there started on me, thinking I was Savem, saying you're being fucking shot dead and smashed in. But the 2 people that walked past initially before that, saying I was going to break all his fucking legs off and fucking arms off, saying he's a rapist and all the rest of it. When I got on the bus, waited at the bus, there's a few people that started shouting at me from cars after that. When I got on the bus, there's 2 people on the back of the bus that were photographing me all the way to Yeovil. Even when I got to Yeovil bus station, walking from the bus station to my place at Thorn House at Eastville and Yeovil, there's even 1 threat there as well. And that's just on the day walking back. there's roughly 1,000 plus threats in the 8 or 9 day period that I was pissing about camping because of heat waves and because of appointments and whatever else that was taking place back at that time. Every night I had to move my tent when I was at Barrow Sand Dunes. Yet when I was at Barrow Sand Dunes before I moved to Yeovil, I managed 2 months and I only had to move the tent once. This time it was every night. People wanting to kill me, wanting to knife me, thinking I was Sven. And there's also a person with a plastic glove on with a snake top in the graveyard thinking I was Sven and wanted to kill me, and I had to hide behind a tree for 3 hours nearly and almost had to phone the police up on 999 to sort the issue out. Even at Kingscliff Woodland, the police were there on a specific night where people were having an argument wanting to kill someone called Sven. But when I saw these people that were having an argument, they didn't seem to have much interest in me. However, I'm the one that's being mistaken as that name, unless they're on about another person with the same name that they're having an argument with. I don't know. Anyway, the police weren't bothered about where I was camping. They said, you're in a good place. They said, we don't really like you doing this, and said, but because you're away from children, away from the public and away from busy areas, and you're not going to get many dog walkers or whatever, they said you did choose a pretty nice, you've chosen a good place to go. They said as long as it's okay with the person there, or if he tells you to get off, you do so, there won't be a problem. So they left it at that. They said, but realistically, being a police officer, we're not really that ambitious or happy about you camping, but as long as you're causing no trouble or the rest of it, and the fact that where you are is away from people, they're not too bothered about it. But anyway, the incident back at Burnham when I was camping there, because I had to move the tent every night when I was there, believe it or not, someone had their car smashed and their tyres slashed. People were jumping on it, shouting their heads off, and they're thinking it's Sven's car. So whoever this Sven is a possibility he drives. But I didn't get in trouble because where it was, there was a CCTV camera where it was and where the car was being smashed up. So there was nothing for me to worry about, and I moved my tent from where it was to camp somewhere else. But when I initially went to camp, I actually paid to go on a camping site, but I had to leave that camping site because too many people were starting on me thinking I was Sven. So that's why I had to leave, and people were getting aggressive with me, shouting at me. But I couldn't go to the get my money back because the staff office was closed on the camping site because of the time I got there, and it was done. The payment was done online and not directly in the thing. So yeah, that's another problem that occurred. So yeah, it's not been good. So this Sven business has also caused all the people. Before I moved, I was speaking to someone at a coffee morning. I presented ID, birth certificate, national insurance number to this person to confirm who I was. No updated ones, the original ones that were issued back in those days. And he got on alright with me, this person. And he realised that people were making it up, thinking I was Sven or whatever. When I met him back in September 2023 on a camping trip, he turned against me, thought I was Sven, forgetting that I showed him that documentation. He got really nasty with me and I had to stay away from him. In actual fact, when I went to the church, the person was talking there saying he's being fucking shot dead. He's sick cunt, that fucking cunt. He's Sven, he's dead, he's fucking good. He was doing that all the way, speaking to his woman. He said, I've got a fucking photo of him. He said, I know who he is, I don't need a picture of him. But it got really nasty, I had to leave the church. And all the people that I was speaking to back in the time before I moved to Burnham, obviously, because I went to that church before I moved, were okay with me, or some of them were. This time around it was a lot different. When I went to Seabrace, New Age type of shop in Burnham, I used to speak kindly to the lady that works there. This time around, 2023, she said, I don't want you in my fucking shop, Sven, and that's not my name. So, then obviously when I went to the co-op at Barrow to buy my essentials, it was a different atmosphere there than when I was living there. And in Asda's, while I was actually in Asda's, there was over 100 people starting on me in just 20 minutes while I was waiting for an appointment before I went to go to where I had to go for the appointment, which was in Highbridge. So it's a nightmare, it really was. So that was probably the most built up threat area that I had in the whole time I was there. I mean, no day was good, but most days I was keeping myself to myself, located in areas where there was no people, so I was managing to avoid the threats. But wherever you go, there'd be threats, and I'd be mistaken as that person. I mean, friends I used to have, or some form of friends, the only people that didn't actually fall out with me are the people at Burnham Library, because they know me for years. Nathan Crook was working in Bridgewater Library going back in the 2005 period, and he remembers me from then. So obviously when it came to that, and obviously I presented ID when I had to get a library card back in those days, so he knew who I was, and so that was the only place where I didn't get trouble. So, but everywhere else, even the herb shop where the Chinese people work, even they were saying I was a sick bastard and didn't remember me, looked at me like a piece of shit. So, it's a lot different. This Savem business has caused a lot of trouble. But it's also the Liam business. There was even Liam threats. These are coming in pretty frequent when I was there in September 2023. I mean, they've caused me to lose a lot of friends. Friends I used to have. The very few I did have have all turned against me. But then a lot of them were paid. If you go back when I was living in Bridgewater, enemies were being paid to turn friends against me. I don't quite know how they had the money and why they were doing it, but that sort of stopped around 2006-07 area. And then obviously it's just the music industry and TV industry against me, and putting stuff on television like child rapists and child killers that resemble my face, and to cause trouble that way. So it's a bit like that, and that's been going on with thousands and thousands of incidents, and even shutting shops or closing road closures, or the M5 fuel explosion one day before North Petherton Carnival, when just 1 month before at Bridgewater Fair I had a clairvoyant prediction that if you go to the carnival at North Petherton, that clothes going to walk into you and be the first ever partner you'll have in your first, in your whole life and whatever. And that's all through. So they've messed it up. Even the police are needing to arrest me at Bridgewater Fair for a piece of paper outside of stuff that's written. He didn't take it as me writing down my problems and threats I was getting outside. He thought I was doing it on the Malicious Communications Act. Well, I was speaking to a lady speak to me, a very youngish lady, saying she's single, sexy type of person, because I was younger at that time. But when I went out, the police had to arrest me, and by the time I went in to go toilets, go back, she'd already gone where the police needed to arrest me. So that was put through as well. There's many incidents like this, and now I'm 43, coming up 44. This is why I'm retaliating and getting nasty for the first time in my life. It's going to get worse, and the worse it gets, the nastier I get. But I've been told I'm going to have my spine smashed. You won't be getting retaliation. You're a sick bastard and stuff like that. That's the latest threats, you see. I mean, the knife attack that occurred recently. Basically, I was told, one person said he's been knifed because he's a paedophile, he's a sicko, whatever. Well, that's the reason they mistaken me as Savem, and it ended up in a slight attack. So after that, they said the lady who was only in her early 20s. Said, well, they should have gone for a better place and they should have made a better position when they hit him. Saying, not good enough, the fight was not good enough. He's still, something like that. I can't remember what it was. It's a very sarcastic and very spiteful way of putting it. That can get your goat going, can really make you fucking tempered in the way it was put. But I can't remember what she said now, the exact wording. But I know it was definitely not very nice. So yeah, all this has caused a lot of trouble. Including that lady I wanted to try and make friendship with. Even though I thought she was the ugliest person I've ever seen in my life, it's gone the reverse way around, because obviously she's still got that sort of smooth skin, although she looks like a poodle dog. It's too late for that because she's now in a relationship, and where the Savem business went around, it turned her against me when I went on the train, going back to 2022, in the summer of 2022, when I saw her on the train. There's so many things, problems that have caused these people to turn against me. Battery's flat again. So basically, after all mention all this, it goes back to what I was about to say. So when this prostitute says that you're not going to get anyone unless you know them in person, it's literally impossible. So it'd be interesting if you can work out anything or what you can suggest after what I've mentioned. I mean, going back to the 1990s, it wouldn't have been a problem, but back in the 1990s, there was too many people that were after me. I had too many enemies. But it was a different form of enemies back then. They were more sort of violent. There's more knife crime and smashing bottles across your head with a glass bottle, or pouring petrol over people and setting them alight, or throwing them in slurry pits and stuff like that. There's a different kind of violence. Today it's more there's more gang violence or group violence back in those days. Today it's hard to describe, and it's never been good right through my life, but there's not much you can do about it. So the only thing I can do at the moment is rely on this Yvonne clairvoyant reading I had 3 weeks ago. There's been no suggestion or nothing to apply that's reasons coming true. But the other thing I want to mention, which is interesting, is this pre-organised force that's against me all the time. They were timing a Liberal Democrats thing, followed by a ripping you to pieces paper shredder van, but it just says ripping you to pieces in big writing. And then you had a just-in-time van, which is a picture of a just-in-time clock being smashed out by a cartoon character, which is a double bell alarm clock. To my knowledge, that's only occurred once with the suggestions of vehicles that have passed me on the road. But there's been another 4 or 5 occasions where a Liberal Democrats poster or someone wearing a t-shirt saying vote Liberal Democrats has occurred, with a ripping you to pieces van following directly after. In actual fact, last night I did a quick documentary on that and put it on YouTube, describing the issue with this reoccurring. And also there's 2 other vans. One is earning a living van, and the other one was another van that's basically means the same thing, but I can't remember what it said now. It's one of the more popular ones that occurred back in 2015, 2016 area. Also, but for about 4 or 5 years I haven't really seen these vehicles. Even when I was at Burnham, that sort of died out when it came to this sort of vehicle. It's occurring more frequently, it does now, you know, maybe every couple of months, every 5 months or 6 months, maybe, or even a year. It's here and there. It sort of wasn't very frequent, but it did occur. It could have been more frequent now. I do remember writing it down on one time period where it was quite frequent. But since I moved to Yeovil, I don't recall. It might have occurred, but I don't recall it occurring. If it did, it would have been 2021 and 2022. But I don't think it occurred. But it's starting to occur again now. Right, I just want to mention something that just occurred 15 minutes ago, just under. But basically what's happened is there's a sexy teenage female, blonde with smooth skin, that's driving a car on her own. There's nobody else in there. I didn't see any children in there. Doesn't mean to say she's single though, as everyone's a single mother if they're sexual looking, because everyone's made everybody a stale piece of shit and they made mistakes with everybody, so every female's a mistake now because they're all mothers. But we have this hip hop track. I've heard it before. I think I heard it last time I heard it was a couple of weeks ago, I can't remember. But you're looking at a good month ago when it was happening frequently. Basically it's a hip hop track that basically says that you're in a job, you're earning a living, and the pleasure of life is enjoying sex with a sexy, smooth-skinned, beautiful woman, basically. But makes a suggestion that you're in a job, you're earning a living, and what you have in life. So it basically says you've got the privilege, you've got the love, you've got the girlfriend, you've got the sex. So you're working, you're in a job, and then you get the sex, but you get the good sex, you get the good sexy girl sex type of. That's what the track says. I can't remember the exact fucking phrase or the layout of what it says, but that's what I'm just giving my interpretation of what the track says. I did say the exact word into the track, but I've been pissed about with other setups. I can't remember what it said, but it is on another YouTube video. I'm not actually sure. I might have actually audio recorded the track. I will double check. I'm not 100% sure on that, so don't take that for granted. But I will double check and see if it's on YouTube, and if it is, I'll leave a link in the description on this video to explain what the track says. Out of all the times I've been down here, I've never known there to be that many flies that get in your mouth or anything like that. I've been down here fucking hundreds of times, you know. There's a specific route I've been taking down here. It wasn't until it's August or September 2022 I first came up here, because I went through Nine Springs initially. It was that year 2022 when I was getting threats, being threatened and being chased with knives, and I ended up posting letters with USB sticks to foreign governments getting my say before I'm hit off. I'm being sexually crucified. And then I started taking walks. But when I started doing the walks up here, you know, I was listening to dark ambient tunes, you know, on my MP3 player, and you had some form of cloud or rain. And obviously, being the time of year, it's sort of getting dark, and I was never getting bored. Then I had that clairvoyant reading. She said she predicted a girlfriend. I can't remember the name of the girlfriend. But she said that things were going to change. You were going to get a move in the summer of 2023, which was bullshit. I think the most accurate clairvoyant readings I've ever had Sue Hudd was one of them. She did say I was going to get a girlfriend. I can't remember what the girlfriend's name was. I don't remember the reading. It's in 2013, a Secret World Healing Weekend, which I can no longer go at because I was photographed 2 years ago as being mistaken as Savannah, being threatened to be fucking smashed in and being told I was a thief. And even my dad got in trouble with me with accusations of theft when none of us had stolen anything. So I don't go there anymore. And even when I was there and I was departing from my father to have a walk around, I've had many threats, people starting on me. There's been threats every single year, except the year I was with my mother. The year she came. 2013 wasn't too bad. 2012, however, I did get quite a few threats on sexuality, saying that I've raped girls or whatever, but with my Jungle Justin nickname before. But it wasn't too bad because a lot of people found out that people were shit stirring, and a lot of the trouble where that occurred back in its day sort of calmed down. And actually, before I moved, 2013 or whatever, there was hardly any threats on every night the Palace nightclub was on. All the arguments between other people, all the threats with my name and everything else all died down, just went completely. But the knife attack at Bridgewater Fair, whoever caused that, things started to increase, and then things started to turn against me and they started to think I did it. And then things started nasty. But it still wasn't that bad. But as soon as I left, I was told that when I did leave, just 2 months after I left and moved to Burnham-on-Sea, that I turned out like a hair of a western, how it was back in 2005 or before. So that's how it was at my place before I moved to Burnham-on-Sea. Then obviously when I moved to Yeovil, the first 2 weeks I moved to Yeovil, take into account I've not been to Yeovil on the bus for 8 years before I moved to Yeovil. And apart from the social worker dropping me off to have a discussion to move in, and then the social worker taking me there to move in on the couple of days after, the first 2 weeks I was there, I went to Tesco's, and I'd never been into that Tesco's before Yeovil, and take into account I've not been there for 8 years, but since I went there on the bus, I had over 40 people start on me thinking I was Savannah and giving me trouble in the Tesco supermarket in Yeovil. Believe it or not, when I actually moved to Thorn House in Eastvale, at first none of the neighbours liked me. And believe it or not, and I'm not making this up, a lot of them thought I was Savannah as well, even though you had to present identification and everything else before you moved there. Most of the neighbours initially were friends with this Matty, who's been evicted, unfortunately, because there was an incident with a door where there was a knife in the staff office door, so he got evicted for it. I won't go into any more details because I don't know the ins and outs of the reasons of why all this happened, and it's not my business, but he's got evicted and I don't want to cause trouble. So, right, but back in the early days a lot of the neighbours were friends with him, and then Sam got funny with me, but I didn't realise that his bike got nicked. Someone nicked his bike, so I didn't realise that was why he's getting funny with me. So I thought, why is he getting funny and making these remarks at times? And that was even going on into the beginning part of 2023, even mid-23. And then I found out later on that he told me what happened, and then I found out. So then I spoke to one of the staff workers. This is one of the staff workers that's left. And I said, I never knew nothing about this. And I said that I was getting threats, being accused of this by whoever was shouting it in the building, one of the neighbours. So the staff worker said, we know it's not you because we checked your flat at the time. Later on, some months later, 6 months later, I was speaking to Helen and she said, we didn't check anybody's flat when it went missing. We said we don't have any idea who it was and all the rest of it. Well, that's good. So I sort of brought up saying, well, it'd be on CCTV if I did it, because back in that time it was extremely rare I went out after 10 o'clock. And in the early days I did go out. It's still under like 5 times that I went out after 10 o'clock. Every time I've gone up, I've had to phone the staff up after 10 o'clock to aggressive shouting and threats, to knife me down, and chases taking place on me on sexuality back in 2021. And in 2022, there's only about 4 times I went out, which is mostly the post box. And after that because things that were dangerous in the building stopped going out. And then it was just an occasion now and again where I went to the rubbish bin to put an old bag in there, rubbish bag in there. Fucking hell. I've inhaled more flies down here than ever before. About 10 times it's occurred on this path today. So that's that. Actually, there's quite a lot of problems that have occurred in my place. Anything from money going missing, which I've mentioned to the deputy and manager, going back a couple of years ago and a year ago, whatever, just over a year and a half ago. Quite big money packs that I kept as emergency packs. Or one of the money packs was quite big. That was there for me buying stuff when I moved and all the sort of essential money that I had spare. But I was told just to keep it a lot safer, so that's what I've had to do. There's been a few things that have happened since I've been there. The microphones on the digital audio recorder's been cut, the thermometer's been cut, a few bits and pieces have been taken, including food, which is unusual. And also, Helen accidentally turned the heating on. She was only trying to cool my place down, which is deputy manager. She didn't realise that the records were lying against my radiator. My battery went flat. I've had to change directions because the catalytic converter smell is very strong on the catalytic converter hot point, which is the way I will be going, but I need to do this video quickly. Helen, which is one of the staff workers, was trying to be helpful one year. I think it's 2022, April 2022. We had a heat wave, and she opened all the windows, but she accidentally turned the heating on and not turned the heating off. And when it came back, she warped all my records. But in today's value, because it's old school jungle stuff like Legendary Volume 3, Lee and Gwange 2 Deep, and these are like scratchless records without any scratches on them at all, mint condition fucking records. She cost me in today's money, about £3,000 I had to chuck away. Back then, the amount I paid for them would have been probably about 500 quid, something like that, just a bit over that, which were rebuys of records that I gave to Lewis, which is a friend I used to have on Facebook who was into my music. But I wasn't too bothered about him having my records because I was mainly taking them off. But the Orange M-Tech USB sticks I had, they all broke. But that's not the only problem. These were I lost a lot of money and a lot of records, and I've had to shortcut a lot of tracks because of this, including Rev P 1994 on Impact Records. Really good tracks that I like: Nutty 1, Underwater Fireworks, and Nutty 1, Liquid Affray. The Alliance, First Impressions. By the way, the previous one is Bare Necessities, and obviously Rev P 1994 is Impact, Legendary 3 is, and Legendary 1 is Legend Records, The Execution, Gwange and Spinback. Top classic. Making Ground, Take Me Higher, Ragga Mix. Rude Boy Recordings, a Photech recording. The Anthill Mob 123 Adrian Blunt remix. There's quite a lot of tracks that I lost, a lot of records. Can't remember what they all are now. Pesce World of Music, Infrared Records. What was the other one? I think I might have had Subsequent Order 1, 2's Up Recordings, a white record with a yellow label on it. And you've got Release on the other side. I can't remember if I had that one or whether that was an old one that I used to have and let Lewis have, I'm not sure. Anyway, had to chuck them all out. I mean, I didn't have nothing to try them, see, but you could tell that if the record white on the end looked warped, you could tell that the rest would be warped, and sort of I thought, oh well. I had bought a couple of records back, but I only bought from the man like Pennywise, Suspension of Disbelief and Mystery, which I discovered later when I bought it that it's taken from vinyl, not an original DAT tape, and I was not very impressed that I bought several copies just to keep as a spare to let people know that's my favourite record, because it's one of my top favourite records, and in fact it's been reissued. But never mind, we all make mistakes when we buy things in life. DJ Panic, Revelation on Hardline Recordings and Daybreak. There we are, Ronnie Size and DJ died a call in the original version. The Catalytic Converter Hot Point, yeah, they got that back to normal again. What other records were there? Mental Power, Unknown Intelligence, Formation Records. Other records that have been damaged are Rough with the Smooth Twisted Girl, because these were lying on the radiators, I had them against the radiators in piles. Fucking hell, what was the other one? I can't remember. There's a few others, I can't remember what the titles are. But you get my drift, that's what happened. Yeah, it's just sitting down having a rest because it's so hot. But what I wanted to mention is, I think it's the last time I came up here, or the time before, was when they were timing a lookalike to someone who sexually abused me as a child, followed by a t-shirt that says "Make love and not war," and then a teenager wearing a t-shirt that says "Age is just a number, it's love that counts." Now those two t-shirts are by the same company, and it appears to me that this is a new company that's releasing these words on a t-shirt that's selling big currently at this minute in time. But there's another one. But before we go any further, take into account I'm only 6 years away from being 50 years of age. Where the t-shirt says when you're 50, I can't remember the exact wording, but it says when you're 50, over 50, 50 is too old. So what they're doing is they're deliberately pre-organising and manufacturing these 3 t-shirts to be deliberately applied to take the piss out of me, knowing that in 6 years time I'm going to be 50 years of age, and when I'm 50 it means it's going to be too late for me to have sex completely. So they want to get it in advance, but at the same time that they're doing that, they can't guarantee I'm going to be alive when I'm 50, because I probably have committed suicide or have ended my life because I won't be able to put up with it anymore. But the problem is, let's go to the Bible now, shall we? Because the Bible says if you commit suicide you can go to the fire of hell to burn forever and ever and ever, because God is against people that commit suicide regardless of how bad their life has been. You're supposed to put your faith in Jesus and live it the best you can until he forgives you. And I'm being choked by a fucking catalyst. They did this on that road on the way up. They get it done on every road, every farm track, every country road. I've literally been completely choked out by that fucking catalyst. I've literally had to wait to get down the second part before I can do the recording. So I'm not very fucking happy about it. Right, more flies in my fucking mouth. Religion. If you commit suicide, you go to the fire of hell regardless. It also mentions that you can go to the fire of hell if you masturbate before marriage. But you're supposed to be rejoice with your youth, with the prettiest ladies of that age. Well, I've been stopped from getting anyone, so you've got to masturbate. So that means I could go to the fire of hell. God doesn't have any reasoning. This is another thing that's taken me off of the religion of Christianity, and why I am a bit sceptical on who God is, and is it actually safe to worship God, or whether God is actually the devil, I don't know. But I can tell you now, the Bible's right against me. Sexuality in particular, the Bible's gone against me. And it's gone against other people as well. In actual fact, you're thinking to yourself that Lucifer, why did Lucifer turn? You think to yourself, if your life, if Lucifer had a life like yourself, maybe that's the reason he turned against God. Maybe he was singled out in a sick way like this. It's similar to my life, I don't know. But it's interesting that Lucifer was cast out of heaven, I will say that. But, there's many things in the Bible, but even Jesus says to the 7 or something like that, I'm not sure who it says he says it to, but he basically says, we're not going to get any sex in heaven, there's going to be no girls for us in heaven. And Jesus said, oh yeah, go on, yeah, do them now. And I can't remember what Bible verse it is, but it's definitely in the Bible. You know, and stuff like that, because there's no sex in heaven. So if you've been sexually abused, I mean, go back to a clairvoyant reading. It might go against Christianity, and obviously Jesus is claiming that they're evil spirits, or the Bible claims they're evil spirits. But I've got to be open-minded, because obviously the Bible's very twisted against me and very nasty. Just over 15 years ago, I had a past life clairvoyant reading, and basically, as a child, I was sexually abused. I was a little girl in my last life. When I was in my early 20s, I lost my life tragically, and I was forced to work in an industrial warehouse until I was tragically killed. She thought back in that time when she gave me the reading that in this life my life was going to be a lot more better. She said that time would come where you can have a fucking girlfriend for the first time in your life. She said it's about time you had some better life, because your past is very negative. But what happens? It doesn't get better, it gets 50 times worse than what it was at that time. Then obviously with the setups and suggestions and force against me, they're making the suggestion in my next life Jesus is going to rape the guts in and out of me as a baby when I'm reborn in my next life, before taking me apart again. Some suggestions are applying that I could be sexually abused and then played about within a fireplace with poker sticks. And another suggestion is applying that before you reach the age of where you can have sex, you're going to be bitten by a deadly cobra or or whatever, black mamba or scorpion or whatever, and lose your life that way. So no good news. Crow goes, ha ha spastic, ha ha spastic. I don't know what part of my life God's turned in, but if we go back to when I was being sexually abused as a child, seagulls, crows and whatever going, oh, and going, ah, and ha ha ha, you know, at the time I was being sexually abused. But if you go back to when I was 5 years of age, and I was with Uncle Robert on the beach, I can't remember what beach it was, I keep thinking it's Burnham Beach, but it might be another beach. A seagull made a nasty vicious hiss and said, bastard, and Robert thought that was low, wasn't it? So sort of, you know, so it sort of made that sound. Then there wasn't really any voice sounds. What there was actually was when I was at school. Lisa Pike, I was talking about something with Lisa Pike in the school classroom, and a seagull went ha 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 in a very suggestive way, and it made Lisa laugh because of the suggestion it made. But I can't remember what it was. In actual fact, when we were on the bus from Yeovil College back to school in 1996 area, I went to Lisa, look, a black car tined, and look what's behind it, black and blue, and there's a black and blue car. This is before I knew what setups were. This was just coincident back at that time. There's a black and blue car tined, she laughed. And then Mark or Anthony Amor, which were the twin brothers that I saw, and then said, blue, white, because a blue and a white car went out and started laughing at that. But back then I didn't sort of cook onto it as being setups, and I never read anything in that pattern. It wasn't until later on, until things got nastier and it became a lot more suggestive, that I realised that these were setups from 2005 onwards. Before 2005, it was mostly timing rough people and nasty people in my direction and threats, and forcing me into diverting, shouting, dangerous situations or whatever else. Back to animal voice sounds. 2003 it started to, there was a few things here and there, but it was straight as I moved into West Street in Bridgewater when it all started. And then obviously right through until 2011 it was extremely bad, and to cut a long story short, up to 1,000 plus sounds per day on some days, all clear. Usually at times when I don't have a digital audio recording device or not recording, or you know, then after that it started to be timed in a way where it's only being caused when you're not recording, and when you push record, times you push record it stops. So, and then when the battery goes flat it suddenly starts again, or if you push stop it'll start again in that sequence, but persistently in that sequence, like it knows when to say it and when not to say it. Then died down until I moved to Burnham-on-Sea. 2015-16 area was bad, like loud bike issue. Then it died down completely until I moved to Yeovil. The first year I was at Yeovil, no problems. December 2022 onwards, it got really bad. In actual fact, the 7th of May 2023 to the middle of July, they broke the record amount of loud bikes to erections of over 1,000 loud bikes per day, every day apart from 4 specific days in the whole of that 6 weeks, which is record breaking to every single erection that occurred. And it was sunny and it was hot in the time period it was occurring. We were just coming into the really hot weather. But it came rapidly on that year. That hot weather just suddenly came in. It wasn't a slow build up, it was sort of just suddenly hot. Well, I'm choked by catalytic converter stench because the fumes are going up this high. Horizon, Valentine's and white, red, white and grey. I can't say what this crow's saying, but crow seagull saying fuck, and then a short word. Lil Cottleworth, black and blue cars. Sore throat, sweet smell occurs from a car, lingers when I pass, so I don't want to catch any diseases. But that's sexual motorbike time. The sore throat issues, timing people with colds and flus in my direction is increasing at this moment in time. Not today in general. Shine van, blue knife shaped car tined, white, sick white, black and blue and red sexual. There's been 5 people playing music. That was all happy, jolly, good life sexual music, pop music, sexual hip hop, sexual whatever, you know, it's all choked by catalyst, but all sexual music, happy, jolly music. Well, I've been diverted because I've been choked out, gassed out completely by a catalytic converter, Abbey electrical timed. Then there's been about 300 cars in total, mostly black and blue, sick white with sexual knife shaped. They've included the bullet shaped car, it's a 1950s style car, and also a two gun looking cars. 4 loud bike issues. leaving staff office or just standing by the door, at least 9 times loud bite to erection. Bash you in said,